Welcome to the course News Design, Broadcast and Documentary Procedures. Module 1, News Design and Broadcast Foundations. 1. Introduction to News Design. When we talk about news design, many people think only about how the evening news looks on TV, the low-altered graphics, the anchor desk, the moving ticker at the bottom. But in a professional newsroom, news design is far more strategic. It's about organizing, packaging, and delivering information so that an audience can understand it quickly, trust it, and remember it. Think of the evening news like a dinner menu in a restaurant. You don't just throw every dish onto a table and let people guess what's what, you arrange it logically: starters, mains, desserts. Likewise, a news producer arranges stories in a way that builds interest and flow. Take CNN's newsroom format. The top story is often a high-impact, visually rich segment, something with urgency, like a major political decision, a natural disaster, or breaking business news. After that, they slot in related analysis or reaction pieces, before moving into lighter features toward the end of the segment. In print, this design process is called page layout. In broadcast, it's called a rundown, a structured list of all the stories, their running order, and how much time each gets. A real example. During Hurricane Katrina in 2005, US broadcasters had to redesign their typical newscast. Instead of the usual mix of politics, sports, and entertainment, the first 20 minutes were dedicated entirely to storm coverage, followed by expert interviews, then rescue updates. That was intentional. The producers redesigned the news to match the urgency of the story. 2. News across different media. Television. TV news relies heavily on visual impact. A story about an earthquake is more compelling when you see the collapsed buildings and hear survivors. That's why news design for TV often starts with video availability. If you don't have good footage, the story might be lower in the rundown unless it's critical. Example: BBC News often holds a story for a later bulletin if they know a correspondent is about to send in high-quality video from the field. Radio. Radio news design is about clarity and pacing. Since the listener can't see anything, you have to paint a picture with words. NPR, the National Public Radio, uses what they call its scene setters, short opening descriptions that help the audience imagine the situation. Example: instead of saying, "The protests continued today in the capital," a skilled radio producer will start with something like, "In the city center, thousands of voices echo between the tall glass buildings, their chants bouncing through the narrow streets." Only after that do they give the political context. Digital. For online news, design isn't just about visuals, it's about navigation. A story page on the New York Times website might include a bold headline, subheadings for quick scanning, pull quotes to draw attention, interactive maps or data graphics. These are design choices made to guide the reader's journey. 3. The elements of a news bulletin. Whether you're producing a 5-minute radio update or a 30-minute TV show, you need a structure. The classic order for a TV bulletin might be: headline segment, short, punchy summaries of the top stories. Top story, it's usually breaking news or a major ongoing event. Secondary stories, related to politics, economy, or global affairs. Human interest/feature stories, often lighter content toward the end. Sports, results, previews, or profiles. Weather, the closing act in many broadcasts. Example: during the 2012 London Olympics, BBC bulletins often started with event results, then switched to political news, then back to more games coverage, a temporary reshuffle because sports had become the national priority. 4. Story selection. What makes news news? Not every story makes it to air. Newsrooms use certain criteria, sometimes called news values, to decide. Common ones include: timeliness, is it happening now? Impact, how many people does it affect? Proximity, is it close to the audience's location? Prominence, does it involve well-known people? Novelty, is it unusual? Conflict, does it involve disagreement or competition? Example: when Queen Elizabeth II passed away in 2022, every major network globally led with the story, even in countries far from the UK. That's prominence in action. The public figure status made it globally newsworthy. 5. Visual design in broadcast news. Broadcast news visuals include lower thirds, the text banners at the bottom of the screen. Over-the-shoulder graphics, images beside the anchor. Full-screen slides for statistics. Video transitions to keep pace smooth. Example. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Sky News used a constant lower third with live infection numbers, a design choice to keep critical data in front of the audience at all times without interrupting the anchor. 6. Writing for broadcast. Broadcast writing is different from print. In print, people can reread sentences. In broadcast, they hear it once, so it must be clear the first time. Tips. Use short sentences. Avoid complex jargon unless explained. Write as if speaking to one person in conversation. Example. Instead of, a magnitude 7.1 seismic disturbance was recorded, say, a powerful 7.1 earthquake struck. NPR's Morning Edition does this beautifully, conversational, but still authoritative. 7. Building a rundown, real-world example. Let's imagine you're producing the 6 p.m. bulletin for Al Jazeera English. Opening headlines, 30 seconds. War update in Eastern Europe. Global stock markets fall. Major flooding in Pakistan. Main package, 4 minutes. Reporter live from Kyiv, plus maps and analysis. Second package, 3 minutes. Economic impact of market drop, with interviews from New York. Third package, 2 minutes. Flooding rescue efforts, social media footage. Short feature, 1 minute. New environmental tech in Africa. Sports and weather, 3 minutes combined. That's a design flow, starting heavy, then balancing with human interest and sports so the show ends on a lighter note. 8. Challenges in news design. Real-world problems producers face. Breaking news disruption, you've built a perfect rundown, then a huge story breaks. In 2011, when Osama bin Laden's death was announced, stations worldwide threw out their scheduled bulletins. Limited visuals, a major story without video forces creative solutions like graphics, phone interviews, or studio discussions. Time overrun, live reporters or guests sometimes go long, forcing quick cuts elsewhere.